So what are we talking about here when we're talking about the jealousy and envy? Going a little deeper, both white and non-white anti-whites begin their sickness from the same place: jealousy and envy. When they look at the grandeur of Western civilization, the beauty of Western kind, and the glory of the West history, they feel jealousy and envy, both white and non-white. The anti-white non-white feels this way because he's not a Westman. The anti-white Westman feels this way because he does not feel himself a member of our people. Whether white or non-white, they might fixate on their own wealth versus our wealthiest, their own intelligence compared to our most intelligent, their own attractiveness compared to our most attractive, on and on. Jealousy and envy highlight the disparity between these individuals and Western kind, and they call that disparity injustice, defining themselves as victims. Very powerful dialectic tool for anti-whites. But who's to blame? Fate, chance, God? Anti-whites cannot satisfy the desire for revenge on abstractions or deities, but they can avenge themselves on Westmen, who by virtue of their existence cause and benefit from the injustice, who by virtue of their existence are avatars for Western kind. This is how you have the white guy, construction working white guy at the end of the street, being attacked by his anti-white white daughter. He becomes the avatar for all of Western kind. That's what happens to each and every one of us. That's what happened to Clay this past week. He was the avatar for the entire West. When her name doesn't matter, attacked him savagely. Little Clay is who matters. It is all about race, his race, not hers. We should have memes that say that. In this way, anti-whites recast every Westman as an avatar for every strength against which the anti-white measures himself to be weak. Every Westman represents greater wealth, even if he is poorer. Every Westman, so how many times do you see this? These anti-white non-whites who are thieving from, say, the government taxation going to child welfare to the tune of millions, and then they come out and complain about how the white race is richer. How many times have you ever heard not filthy rich non-white people like Oprah Winfrey, complain about the wealth disparity? Every Westman is an avatar for the greatest wealth. Every Westman represents a greater advantage, even if he is disadvantaged. And that holds true. Every white guy alive, hearing my voice or not, knows exactly what I'm talking about. Treat it as though you have this mystical, invisible advantage when in every conceivable way you are disadvantaged. This is the anti-white narrative. Every Westman represents greater beauty, even if he is ugly. And we're seeing the great hatred for Sydney Sweeney's beauty, white beauty, right now. We're seeing this great hatred. We're seeing this awareness among the populations of the world that for some reason they find the members of their race that are diluted with white background to be the most attractive in their race. That's a curious thing. And we are hated for it. Pay close attention to this. This is the true aim of the anti-white. If you understand this, you don't need to imagine cabals. You don't need to imagine that everyone is everybody in the government or in the tops of the biggest countries, they're all just actors on a stage. You don't have to go to these fantasies to truly understand how we get to anti-white outcomes everywhere. You don't need to imagine that there is some big rock, black rock, purple rock that is ordering it from on high. And therefore, you just need to complain about them until the end of time in the utterly futile hope that they will poof and disappear someday. Understand this, what I'm about to read, and you'll get all of the anti-white attacks. This is the true aim of the anti-white: to punish, so to victimize the Westman for the feelings of inferiority that Western kind inspires in them. To punish the Westman for the feelings of inferiority that Western kind inspires in them. We don't have to do anything. And this is where you can really see how malevolent and egregious it is. There is nothing we can do except cease to be, to arrest the feelings that our presence inspires in our victimizers. So cuck conservatives really need to hear and grapple with that. You can't disavow everything that we've ever done. You can't disavow our looks and say that non-white people are better looking. It's not going to work, because it's not your thoughts that are motivating our victimization. It's theirs. You need only listen to what they share, and they'll tell you. You can't disavow our creations. You can't disavow our beauty. You can't disavow our wealth. You can't say that non-whites would have done it better. None of it will change the thinking in the heads of anti-whites. The only thing that can remedy this fundamental conclusion, this operational 24/7 every day through their lives, the only thing that can remedy this is our biological white erasure, is for us to cease to be. There is no other remedy for them. For us, we go free. For us, when we go to them and we say, as a percentage of our overall race, a collective, a people growing in that percentage, we go to them and say, you're not going to victimize us anymore. We will ruin you. We have the morality. We will defend ourselves. We will avenge ourselves. That's the only thing that can stop this, short of our biological erasure. As self-conceived victims, anti-whites gain what we all know for a victim is the right of self-defense. Now, flip this around, as we were talking about a little earlier in part 1. Think about it. Do I need to spell this out? If conceiving of yourself fictionally as a victim inspires the fanaticism and the right of self-defense to the degree that we see in anti-whites, imagine what actual victimization would inspire, an awareness of actual victimization. And think now about all of the times that so many across the white sympathetic sphere, especially the ones that have more muscles than brain cells, or more, fetid, vulgar, disgusting lives than brain cells, have come to you and said, no, you never talk about being victimized. These people are pulling all the teeth out of your mouth. They're tying your arms and legs behind you. We have the evidence of victimization everywhere. Victimization inspires righteous indignation. Victimization inspires the righteous notion of a right to self-defense. Back to the anti-whites, which enables anti-whites to inflict harm on Westmen in good conscience. Another element of it there. White people are always concerned about everybody else. What are they going to think? How are they going to feel? I've literally, and I know you have too, heard white cucks say, well, but if we go in there and we say that they can't victimize us as white people, what might they think? That might scare them. That might hurt them emotionally. Concerns for those things evaporate when you are discussing relentlessly our victimization. They can victimize Westmen in good conscience, and which justifies the most fanatical behavior and actions. Think about if we had like that little white woman at the beginning in part 1, if instead of feeling victimized by a river getting polluted thousands of miles away, she felt victimized by white children being beat up by anti-whites. What would her fanaticism look like at the school board, at the school itself, at the daycare? How many phone calls would she make? How many people's faces would she get in screaming bloodthirsty like they do for the environment? However, jealousy and envy are not legally, socially, or morally acceptable grounds for revenge in Western civilization. Cool Papa J Magic saying, listen to this man, no white guilt. Listen to that guy. We go over his swashing victories every week. Brilliantly written. Thank you so much for that, brother. Anti-whites overcome this barrier with the moralization, intellectualization, and sentimentalization, we call that miss, of pretexts to legitimize the harm they inflict on Westmen. So we can reduce everything. We have how many content creators have you watched over the years? And they want to talk about this school of thought from this university or that school of thought from the other university. And they want to dive in and talk about it, and they want to swim through the nonsense on and on. Sometimes they then want to say, where did this school of thought come from? Then they want to go on with these philosophaster historical lessons about this group of people, and they came up with it for this reason, and somehow magically they knew, despite the dynamical nature of society, that it would work in this specific way at some point down the road. Preposterous. You could take all of those conversations, encapsulate them in myths, because all of the arguments that you're going to hear from all of those thinkers, politicians, philosophers, on and on, when it redounds to anti-whiteism, is a product of the moralization, intellectualization, and sentimentalization of pretexts. They want to arrive at an anti-white outcome. How to get there? Some will go the moralization route. Some will go the intellectualization route. Others will go the sentimentalization route. It's constantly at work, combating the excuses that they fabricate as a consequence of mispretexting is futile. I have given you a scalpel the size of King Saturn's rings to slice through anti-white garbage. Why would you go anywhere else? Why would you heed anything else? The pretexts in their aggregate form the doctrine of anti-whiteism. Does that make sense? Should make sense. Here's the doctrine of anti-whiteism, ever evolving to fit the times as a consequence of the mispretexting, which the resentful among us fanatically adopt to serve their self-interests. So the anti-white fanatics adopt these excuses to serve their self-interest. Combined with the power of our leading institutions, which the anti-whites have hijacked, we talked about all the nodes of power, the anti-whites have established our modern anti-white moral code we talk about so very often. The power and this power and moral code enable anti-whites to extort money, sex, resources, privileges, and more from whites. Thus, to jealousy and envy are added the motivators plunder and lust. They don't come first. That's not where it starts. The people who conclude that are either just wrong or intentionally misleading you, or their error stems from how they view the world as selfish individualists. Why would anybody do this? And so it's so true that we see that kind of argument so often on Fox News and from conservative content creators. They're doing it just for the money. It's just the money. All the victimizing white people, it's just the money. Of course, we have to ask the question then, why is there a gravity that enriches the victimization of white people? Where does that come from? And then if that's the case, if there is a gravity that enriches those who are anti-white, then it's that gravity, that morality that we have to defeat. Not simply address the abstraction of theft, personal enrichment, ambition, etc. I hope my conservative brothers and sisters are listening. Armed and motivated, anti-whites inflict harm on Westmen and attack Western-kind's bio-spiritual expressions, the culmination of which is Western civilization. By altering and destroying that which we love, brings us happiness, and secures our well-being, anti-whites further inflict harm on our people. Sometimes it's hard for people to understand that. I don't know why, but sometimes it is hard for people to understand. But imagine if you wouldn't do this and I wouldn't do this, but imagine if there was, or let's just say someone else, you would be more understanding if you saw someone that had a really awful boss and the boss was abusive in every imaginable way, this manager, say, and this person needing the job, not being able to contend with the boss, needing the job, can't go elsewhere, maybe doesn't want to go elsewhere because of the money is good for that individual or whatever, they decide to do things that upset the boss. That's what happens to the white race when you white erase our norms, when you right erase our standards, our sensibilities. It is an injury on us. And that's how we should treat it. Even more importantly, that is how we should treat it. Individual anti-whites. This is the final note that I'll read here today. Individual anti-whites need not, listen closely, need not plan, desire, or even consider white erasure in all its forms, including the final white erasure. They need not consider it, plan it, think about it at all to achieve that outcome. They only need inflict aggregate and cumulative harm. Now, I just shared with you, I mean, this is like, you could go listen to 1,000 speeches elsewhere in the whites. This is just the truth about everything under the sun, and not come away with an ounce that you could use in your life in understanding our victimization, understanding this world. And not only that, the blueprint, the actual plans that others have walked and succeeded with laid out before you. What more does this white sympathetic sphere need?